All right, Magic Makers. Today, I want to talk about what makes a great workout. And I bring this up because so many times, people find out I'm a personal trainer and they're like, oh my God, Kim, like, what's a really good workout? And then they'll go on to, this is what I do. They'll tell me that I work out for 2 hours a day, that I spin, I go to boot camp, I take Orange Theory, I go to CrossFit, I do yoga, and they go on and on and on, like they're like, oh, you know, I don't think a good workout isn't good enough unless I'm sore or, there a certain amount of time or working on a certain body part split or no rest days, right? Because they'll lose their gains. And I hear all over this. And, for those of you listening, how many of you have said it? How many of you have told yourself that, the litany of things I just listed off? And so, if most of us work out to get smaller, right? And if all the things we did to work out to get smaller, if those work, does everyone who lifts weights automatically get smaller? Does everyone who lifts weights automatically get stronger? Right? I'm not saying this to make anyone feel bad. I'm just like asking a question. And, my clients, you guys know, I ask a lot of questions. If I wasn't going to be a trainer, I probably would have been a lawyer. Like, one of those like lawyers that like when you saw my name pop up, you'd be like, oh crap, she's on the list and I gotta go up against her. Because I just ask hard questions, smart questions, questions that are hopefully pull out the best of you. So if I look at all the things I talked about, like, when people tell me what makes a great workout, let's just go down to what a body of research, who that's their job. There is the American College of Sports Medicine. That's what they do. They research this stuff. And what they have found is that it is 150 minutes a week, right? 150 minutes a week makes a good workout. 2 times a week or on 2 or more days. So what they're saying is take that 150 minutes and how can we spread it out? Can you do at least 2 days of 60 minutes and then find, 30 minutes someplace else in your day? Can you spread out that 150 minutes across 2 or more days? But it's like they've given you these guidelines that most of us can meet. And I know that for me, back in my day, I was an all or nothing, like if my workout was not 2 hours, it was crap, right? Like, why do it? Why do it? And I know many people feel that way. And if that's you, that you're like, I can't take a day off, or your day off is yoga, keep listening because I'm going to talk about, how to listen to your body. And I know many people who hear that, they're like, I hear this and I got nothing. What the bleep does that mean? Right. And so I know that for many of you, this 150 minutes, it just seems like so small, and that's okay. This is for people who are just getting started. These are people who can't be consistent. And I know, for many of my, competitive clients, they're like, oh, whoa, I'm never going to hit stage doing that. And that's not for you, right? This is for people who are just trying to be consistent with their workouts, just trying to put together the building blocks of that. And for those competitive people, let's have a different conversation because some of you might be overtraining. And I'm not going to talk about that today. I've done several podcasts on overtraining, but I just want to focus on like what makes a good workout here and there. And that, many of us think that in order to create the results that we want, AKA get smaller, get tighter, toner, right? We have to do hard, challenging stuff, right? If I'm not doing a, burpee into a back handspring with a flaming kettlebell, it's not a good workout. And, a workout does not have to be soul crushing. Every workout doesn't have to leave you limping out of it like a wet noodle. As a trainer, I'm looking for what is going to get the best adherence and consistency. That's what I'm looking at that. And later on in the podcast, I will delve into, if you have X amount of hours per week to work out, what should that structure look like? But my main focus is how can I get you to be consistent? Because so many of you can go big, go home, but you can't go consistent. And then you get pissed off that you're not seeing the results because you can't keep up these 2-hour workouts. Or in my case, I don't want to keep up the 2-hour workouts. I don't want to make that time because I started to, the gym was my happy place. And then it became my like second job. And if those of you who are like, I'm done having a second job, keep listening, right? You know, Instagram, I love it. I love it. But it just made us feel like I should be doing these like crazy ass workouts all the time in order for me to get results. And this is what, you know, those of us who were professionals, we are credentialed, we are certified. What we have found and what we know, and science has shown us, workouts don't need to be fancy. The basics still work. The basics can get you great, amazing results. Because if the basics didn't work, then there would be new research out saying, okay, you do need to do that burpee with a flaming kettlebell, right? So here are the basics. It's a squat. Think about it. It's an everyday movement. You're sitting in a chair right now. You had to squat to sit in that chair. You sat on a toilet today. You have to squat to get on that toilet and off that toilet. Deadlift. You're picking something up off of the floor, right? Knees slightly bent, picking something up off the floor. It could be your child. It could be a suitcase. Lunging, I'm kneeling down with one leg to pick something up off of the floor. Pulling, I'm pulling something down from the cabinet. And pressing, I'm pushing a drawer in on my dresser. Rows, again, I'm picking something up off the floor with my upper back. You know, those are the foundational movements because that's what we do in life, right? We are translating our everyday life into a workout, and those movements work. And what happens is, you know, I was the trainer on the floor. We got a lot of downtime when y'all are at work. So we come up with stuff to make it seem like, you know, that we're fancier, that we are trying to impress you, trying to impress each other. When here's the thing, the basics work, you know, a squat is always going to be a squat if I'm not doing, you know, if I'm not doing it on a Bosu ball. I still can do a squat on the floor and I can make it more challenging without adding, you know, that stability base of having that Bosu ball, right? The other thing about the basics is that it allows for me as the client to see progression. You know, back in the day when I used to be a straight up gym rat, I had a notebook, you know, a little memo pad that every single workout I wrote in that memo pad. And I wrote, you know, squat, and it was, you know, June 10th, and this is what I squatted. And then the next time I did it, like, you know, June 15th, this is what I squatted. And June 30th, this is what I squatted. And I would keep a record, and I have notebooks going back almost 10, 15 years. And it's just being able for me to go back and see my progression. Now I know there's an app for that, all that magic stuff, but I'm not there yet. I will totally admit to you, I'm still old school. This podcast I wrote on a yellow pad of paper. The day the yellow pad goes away is the day you will see me like in a ball on the floor, crying my eyes out. So I like that. Like, so these let you see progression. Also with the programming, you know, the programming is every, you know, 4 to 8 weeks is what we have found, research has found to be the sweet spot for when we need to change up our workouts. Now, I know that it's become a very popular thing that every day your workout changes. You know, CrossFit started that, you know, 15 years ago. But if you think about the one thing, you know, CrossFit has done is that they do come back to certain lifts to be like, okay, what is, you know, can we max out on this? You know, encouraging you to do a lift multiple times so that we can start to see some progression in there, because that's where we see the adherence, is when we're like, oh, look at me, I've added, even if it's 2 pounds, right? You've added 2 pounds to whatever it is, your bench press, your squat, your bicep curl. And so for those of you who are like trying to, like, you know, Rona happened. So for those of you who are trying to get back into the swing of things, the big place here is for you to think about anywhere from 3 to 5 days, you know, like I said, the ACSM says 2 or more days for 150 minutes. But for those of you who are listening to me, I know that many of you have been consistent in the past. So, aim for 3. I always tell people good, better, best. All right. So what does good, better, best look like for you? For those of you who are new to that whole thought process, what is a good week? What is a better week? And what's a best week? And so I will use myself as an example. For me, I know that for the most part, I can work out 5 days a week. I know that, like, it's just automatic. I just know that my workout days are typically Sunday, Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. I'm sorry, Sunday, Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Saturday. Those are my workout days, right? It's been that way for almost a year. Those are my workout days. But sometimes life happens. So that I know those are my 5 days. If it's my best week, then I know, okay, some days, summer happens or weekends happen, that Saturday might not happen. And maybe I can't move it to a Friday, or maybe I can't move it to a Tuesday. So then I know I'm going to get 4 days in that week. And that's my better week. And then again, some days I might go away. I might get sick. I might have meetings. And so then I go 3 days is a good week. And that way I don't beat myself up. I've already said to myself, you know what, Kim, this is what you can, and that's okay. I live in what is possible versus trying to like wrap myself around the axle, getting up at 4 a.m. to go to the gym so that I could go to this meeting about, no, I don't do that anymore. And so I'm not saying this is not judgment. This is what works for me in my life. And here's what I'm asking you. Let's get real. Like, what is going to work for you in your life? And can you keep up the pace? Right? Remember my reps formula. Is this what you're choosing? Is it realistic for you right now? Are you excited to do it? Can you make a plan for it in your life? And is it sustainable? If it doesn't answer one of those 4 questions, then you got to revisit the plan that you are on. All right. So how do I mix up my workouts? And so, short of the flaming kettlebell, frequency. How many times a week are you going to the gym? That's how we can mix up our workout. Intensity. What is the load, increasing my weight? I have taught group fitness for years, and I had taught this one class for almost 15 years. And I'd probably 80% of the people who came to class, I knew them, like they came week after week after week. And I have this really weird thing that I can remember what your weights will look like. And so once a month at the beginning of the month, I'd be like, okay, it's a new month, new weight. And I'm like, I want you to pick 2 weights, and then I want you to pick 1 weight that is a goal weight, and everyone go pick. And so some people wouldn't do it and they wouldn't think I would know. And then I would walk over and I'd be like, hey, Sharon, you didn't go over to the weight rack. Like, what's up? And they would be like, how do you know? I'm like, I'm a freak. Those kind of things I know. The 15th president, I'm like, I don't know, Abraham Lincoln, but I know that you've been using the same yellow and green weights since you showed up at class 6 months ago. So that's what I want you to think about. Like, can we increase weight? Always with good form. Always with good form. Volume, the number of exercises that you have in your set, and the number of exercises that you have in your program, and the number of sets that you are doing. So that means, are you doing 5 exercises, and are you doing, 3 sets, 4 sets, 5 sets, and then the rest you have in between workouts. Now, some people are like, oh, I'll rest when I'm dead. But if I'm lifting heavy stuff, my rest is probably going to have to go up. I always tell people, you have to listen to your body. Like, if I finish, so say you're doing, you've lifted really heavy and your body's like, you're breathing hard, or you're doing some type of cardio and you're like, sorry for that to sound a little porno there, but you know what I'm saying. This is when you're like, okay, body, I'm going to take a few deep breaths, and maybe it's 30 seconds it takes to regroup. Maybe it's a minute that I take to regroup, but I'm taking that time to regroup and refresh so that I can come back strong with that next set. Now, a lot of people are working out at home. And so they're like, how do I challenge myself with these workouts? And so one of the ways I challenge myself with these workouts is that I'm going to change up, right, my time under tension, so that means, how much time does it take me to lift or lower the weight? And so depending on what it is, if it's a, say a bicep curl where like the heavy part of it is, I'm going to lift slow up and then I'm going to come down. I'm going to lift fast up and then come down nice and slow. Same thing with my squat. I'm going to come down nice and slow and I can come up faster. Drop sets. I can, start with a heavy set and then drop the weight in half. So say I was squatting 50 pounds, I could drop that weight by half and finish out, then do a next set and then oscillate back and forth between that. Change the position of my feet, change the position of my hands, in a bent over row. Are my palms facing upward? Are my palms facing me? Are my palms facing each other? Right. So there's always like little subtle ways to manipulate so that I can start to work different angles of that muscle. And then it comes down to rep range. And so, my old school bodybuilder people, right, they believe the sweet spot is 12 or plus, 12 or more reps. Like that's where you're going to get your greatest gains. Now, new research is saying that it's 6 to 10 reps that is our sweet spot. And so when I'm working and a lot of my programming goes around in that 6 to 12 range, right? As I progress people through the periodization of the programs in my Fit Girl Magic Society, that's what we do so that we can start to see, at lower rep ranges, I can lift heavier, right? We can all lift a little heavier in those lower rep ranges. When it gets higher, I can't lift as heavy. My form's going to go to crap. And my focus is really on just burning out that muscle when I'm at that higher rep range. When I'm at that lower rep range, 6 reps or less, the focus is, can I lift heavy with good form? And when we do 6, roughly about 6-ish reps, I know I still have a couple of reps in the tank. So I can really truly understand what is my max weight. And, many of you may have heard about, the 1 rep max. And so the 1 rep max is like, for 1 repetition, what is the heaviest weight I can lift? And a lot of programming will have you max out, right? Max out on that squat, max out on your bench press, max out on your deadlift, max out on a bicep curl, you name the exercise and have you go through a max out so that you understand when you're doing just a regular non-max out workout. And believe it or not, that's just the workout, just 1 rep as heavy as you can go. And, that's a whole separate topic, but just to give you an idea. So I'm trying to max out. And then what some trainers will do is say, okay, if we've maxed out, I'm using round numbers because I don't do math. If my max out is 50 pounds, then it's like, okay, you're going to do 80% of that 50 pounds, or you're going to do a 60% of your 1 max rep, so that you really understand and you're tuning in to what is your true muscle potential, your true weight potential. But every rep range has its merit. Both high and low rep counts have a place. It's not all about more, right? Mixing in the 2 in your workout is a place for you to see progress, right? It's a way for you to keep your body guessing. Our bodies are highly adaptable. And so if you're always going into the gym and Monday is chest day and Tuesday is shoulder day and Wednesday is this, your body's going to be like, oh, all right, we're going to go over to this rack. She's going to pick up this. She's going to do it. No. So the more we can kind of modulate things along the way, the more we're able to create the changes that we want. And it's not always about more. And so for many of you guys who are still working out at home, right? Sure. I gave you a few tips, but here is more. So we talked about tempo. How about adding a pause? So if I'm in a squat, pause at the bottom of that squat for 3 hot seconds. Pause at the bottom of that squat for 3 hot seconds. Same thing with a tricep extension. I'm going to go out. I'm going to hold at the top of the tricep extension, 3 seconds, squeeze that tricep, and then come back down. I could also add some pulsing, right? Pulsing can be in a bicep curl. I could pulse at that 90 degree mark. I could pulse in a lunge. I could pulse in an overhead press. For my any exercise, I could put my foot on a bench. I could put my foot in front of me. I could put my foot behind me. I could incline, I can decline a bench, and all change up all different workouts. And so I've given you the basic structure of a workout. And, how do I personalize it? How do I take everything I've said and I put it into me? How do I make this me? Here's how you make it me. So the biggest thing is I got to focus on my form, my range of motion, and my mobility. That's, anything that I go into, that's my main thing, especially as we age. Mobility is going to be your bread and butter, because no one wants a cranky shoulder or a cranky lower back, right? We want to really focus on that. And so when I was working at the gym, you're meeting with a client, you're like, okay, Tina, how many hours a week do you have to work out? And of course, everyone's like, I got 7 days, girl, 7 days. What you got? Throw it at me. And I'm like, okay. And so, and as a naive trainer, when I first started, I was like, oh, awesome program. Then, they would come back, say, 2 weeks, and I'd be like, Tina, how'd it go? Well, my boss did this, my kid did this, my dog, blah, blah, blah. I only got 3 workouts in. And so what was like, I have 7 days turned into I only had 3, or I only had 2, right? You have life. And we talked about the good, better, best. So think about how your life really is, not your blue sky life, not the life you wish you had. This is your true life. Like, not all of us are Kardashians and we're just rolling around. We are working people. So the first thing I want you to prioritize, if you are a woman over 40, health. If you're just a woman, prioritize strength. Number one, strength is your number one priority. If you're looking to get smaller, if you are looking to get stronger, strength training is the way to go. I know many of you are like, but I don't sweat. Strength training will be your best friend. As we age, we lose muscle, right? Go to Florida, see the muscle loss, and then you're like, oh girl, I'm going to pick myself up a dumbbell. All right. So strength training is a priority. So if I have 3 hours a week to work out, I'm going to focus on metabolic combos. And what that means is I'm going to take strength training and cardio and bring it together. And no, that's not being on a spin bike while doing bicep curls. I'm going to spare you my TED talk on that. So that's what you're focusing on. And that is like one of the best ways to do that. Like, I love kettlebell training because in like 15, 20 minutes, I can bust out a great workout and I'm sweating and I know I've worked my muscles. So one of the ways, if you're like, Kim, I just don't know what you're talking about. And, I always try to keep these podcasts short and to the point, is that you want to check out the, my Fat Burning Fridays. So follow me on Facebook or Instagram and just go into the hashtag Fat Burning Friday and you will see a number of workouts. I did Fat Burning Friday for over 5 years. And so you'll be able to see a myriad of workouts to get you started there. The second thing is I have 3 to 5 hours a week to work out. I'm going to focus on strength training. So I'm going to really give myself at least 3 days of strength training, and that's 3 full body days. And I know many people have this belief that I have to, in order to get gains, I have to have this body part split. And that was a belief for a really long time. But what has changed is if you think about the amount of time I have, in 3 days, I can do multiple body parts multiple times a week versus just zeroing in on one day. And if I do that, I'm hitting it multiple times. And so it's not like I'm just hitting it one time. I get multiple bites at the apple, but I also do it in a way that is more functional for how it's going to translate out in the real world. And it also helps me to get stronger faster versus aesthetics. So typically would be a full body pull, full body push, and then a lower body component, or you can do an upper, a lower, and then a full body. There's a whole myriad of ways to pull that together, a full body workout, but you're really focusing on strength training and then sprinkling in some HIIT. HIIT is 30 minutes or less. It's not going to a spin class. Like, that's not that hopping on your Peloton for like 3 hours. No, it is 30 minutes or less, because if you can sustain like true high intensity interval training for more than 30 minutes, you ain't doing HIIT. All right, then you have 5 or 6 hours a week to work out. You are going to add in, you're going to go anywhere from 3 to 5 days for your lifting, and then you're adding in that hit, but now you're adding in a little bit more leisure walking. And for us ladies over 40, that leisure walking is paramount, because that leisure walking is what's going to help us regulate our hormones, one, but two, help us with our stress management. So many people don't realize that exercise is a stressor. It's great stressor, but if I am someone who's already like stressed to the max, and listen to my stress call, I will link it in the show notes. If you're already stressed to the max, this is just gonna like add like kerosene to the fire. Like your body's not gonna be like, oh, this is relaxing. Your body's like, I'm like, great, more stuff to do. Good God. Right. So I want you to really think about walking. It's just like, I know that for those of you like, that's not exercise. I felt that way. And my walks are my godsend. Like I like literally like, now I understand like why, when like if you have a dog, like when you come home, your dog's like, let's go. It's not about the bathroom. Like maybe they have to go, but it's more about, I just want to get out and like feel the wind in my ears and my tail and just be out of these four walls. Now, exercise is great, but we always have to look at our diet. Jack LaLanne says it best: nutrition is queen and exercise is king. And we all know when the queen ain't happy, nobody happy. All right. So for fat loss, I'm going to focus on strength training, walking, and then cardio. If I'm looking to build some muscle, I'm going to focus on strength training with just a small dose of cardio. I know everyone thinks is more, these 2-hour workouts, these marathon gym sessions are what's going to give you the best results. But at the end of the day, if you can't sustain those results, if you are like, I just need a week off. I talk about this when I used to do fitness competitions. I was like, all in. And I would be at the gym minimum 2 hours. I would easily go for an hour in the morning. I would go for an hour in the evening. And by the time and that was for 6 months. And by the time I finished my show, I was like, I can't. And I would literally take a month off from the gym, because like I was just like, I can't get back on the horse. Like I just couldn't reboot that system. I couldn't find my focus. And so when I finally was able to like reboot myself and refocus myself, I was like, you know what? This isn't for me. Like this isn't a long-term thing. I love the gym. Like the gym makes me happy. I'm happy when I'm moving my body. I'm happy when I'm working out, but it wasn't happy at 2 hours a clip. And so now, most of the days my workouts are an hour or less. That's all in. That's like warm up, workout, and cool down. I'm out of there. And so that's what was my sweet spot. So I challenge you to find what your sweet spot is, and not feel like I gotta do that, because I always think about, what is going to keep you consistent? What is going to keep you coming back to the gym on a regular basis? And how do we and give yourself space and grace, right? To slowly, if you're just coming in off a layoff, or you're someone who's like hasn't been consistent for a while, slowly ramp yourself up, so that you have that like good, better, best. You start with 150 minutes and work your way up if that is your choice. But allow yourself to see the progression. And the old school, like I said, tracking is how we are able to, see where we're going and see our, ultimate results, because results are more about getting smaller. Sure, great, that's awesome. But I also think, are you sleeping more? Are you seeing increased lists? Am I looking in the mirror and I'm seeing myself get smaller? I always encourage people to take pictures, put on a pair of, pants or dress that you haven't worn in a couple of years, and check it out. And see how you're doing. And, my Fit Girl Magic Society, I offer these like 3 to 5 day workouts, so that, if you have 3 days, you have 5 days, you have something that you can do that it's going to give you results in the shortest amount of time. Plus, I provide guidance and accountability. So lastly, before I go, I want to talk about energy and how that determines what the workout looks like for the day. Many of you hear the term listen to your body, but you're like, I don't know what the hell that means. And I get it. I know I've said it to people, and they're like, oh, I don't know. And for listen to your body, when it comes to like an injury, that makes sense, right? We all don't want to work out with pain. Well, I hope you don't want to work out with pain. I mean, I don't want to make that a sweeping assumption. So the best way to describe when to work out are by a stoplight, right? We've all seen a stoplight. We have red days, we have green days, and we have yellow days. And so how do we do that? And so green days, those are days that you feel amazing. You got a great night's sleep, you feel good. You're like, yeah, I can do this workout. You're going to be lifting heavy. It's a day that you might be doing some sprinting, right? You might spend a little bit more time at the gym because you just feel really good. And on those days, you're like, all right, I feel great. Now comes yellow days. Yellow days is like, you might be feeling a little beat up. Maybe you're a little sore. Maybe you are coming off a green day when you thought you were the Incredible Hulk. And so now here's about like the slow and steady, you're less intense, they're lighter workouts, and you have longer rest between your sets. Then we have red days. And here are the days where many people are just like, I need to go with my willpower, my motivation, my discipline. And here's where, you're feeling sore, you're feeling burnt out. Like your body's like, girlfriend, what is up? Why are we doing this? And so here's where I'm like, here's where you recover. Maybe it's foam rolling, it's stretching, it's walking, it's mobility and stability work. It's not going to a power yoga class. Like, no, it's like foam rolling, doing some hip openers, some shoulder openers, just slow movements that aren't in 110 degrees. That's what a red day is. It's okay to stick with your schedule, but here's where we like modulate, based on like red, green, and yellow. Like, how are we feeling? And when I did this, I previewed this podcast with my Facebook group, my Fit Girl Magic Society. And, I had some questions. And one of the questions I had was, well, Kim, most days I feel orange. And I'm like, all right. So that tells me you're overtraining. If you feel orange all the time, that tells me that you're overtraining. And so she was like, well, she was like, well, I was just doing yoga. And I was like, yoga, like I said, it's not relaxing. Like, it's like, if you are feeling orange, yellow, hot yoga is not a relaxing thing, right? Yin yoga, where you're holding the pose, I think it's like a minute or two. That's relaxing, like a slow, easy flow. Mobility, walking, that's what you do on those orange days, right? You're not like, I just crush. No, your body's like, girl, I'm knocking on your bleeping door. Can we slow down? So I really want you to think about, like, it's not always about go big or go home. It's really like, how am I feeling today? Like checking in with your body, like tuning in versus always having to push yourself up and over, whatever mountain it is that you are pushing. So I really want you to think about, what does this look like? If you're someone who is regularly working out 7 days a week, and like 2 of those days are like a yoga class or a spin class, I want you to think about, can I stop one day and just take a walk? Like, so that it's, instead of 7 days, it's 6 days and I'm taking a walk. Can I do that? Right? Can I, it's an experiment, and see how you feel with that, so that we're not always feeling like we have to be pressing that go button in order to save our results. Because trust me, if you are at that 7-day a week pace and you have not seen any changes in your body in you don't know how long, you need to make a change to see a change, and that change ain't more, right? Sometimes that change is less. The other change is your nutrition. And, I've done a myriad of calls about that. So if you still have questions, do me a favor, reach out, right? I don't bite. I don't bite at all. You can find me on Instagram, Kim Jefferson Coach. You can find me on Facebook, Kim Barnes Jefferson, or you can come over to my website, kimbarnesjefferson.com, ask me a question. I am always there to answer it. If there is somebody who needs to hear this message, do me a favor, screenshot this and be sure to share it out in your socials. All right, ladies, thank you so much for your time, and I will talk to you next week.